Satya Nadella commented few months ago that SAAS is dead.
I think the notion that business applications exist, that's probably where they'll all collapse.
It doesn't look like it is dead right now. Yeah, I'm not subscribing to that worldview yet.
You have picked up a very difficult category to build in. CRM space is a very deep category, very large category, and going against the Salesforce of the world. How did you build your own differentiation in that category?
So I think
how much does India as a country would spend on CRM? Any numbers on that?
it'll be anywhere from 500 million to $1 billion.
What has been the highest annual contract value that a customer has paid?
I would say less than 10 million would be.
Wow, that would have been both an excitement as well as fear.
Yeah, it became fear, later.
I think that was Byjus.
Yeah, that was Byjus, yeah.
How big is the team today?
We're about 1,000-ish people now.
During the building of this company, you have dispelled a myth that SaaS companies built out of India can't have Indian customers.
I continue to believe that Indian customers will pay for quality software.
Hi, this is Siddharth Aluwalia, your host at Neon Show and also managing partner of Neon Fund. Today I have with me Nilesh Patel, co-founder of LeadSquared. LeadSquared is among the top 25 SaaS unicorns from India and one of the most talked about SaaS companies which has grown recently and come on the map from India to the US. Nilesh, welcome on the Neon Show. So glad to have you here.
Hey, thank you, Siddharth. Thanks for inviting me. Really appreciate and really like to be here.
So you have picked up a very difficult category to build in. I think CRM space is a very deep category, very large category, and going against the Salesforce of the world, right? So tell us about the journey of building LeadSquared, any pivots during the journey, and when did you start it?
So, I think we started in 11. Idea was to build a software first business, me and my co-founder colleagues. And along the way, we figured after evaluating few ideas that the space around marketing automation and CRM, particularly marketing automation, was gaining good attention during 11, 12, 13 time frame. So we started working on one of those ideas. And as we progressed in the journey, we found the adoption of our software in India. And some of that was basically in, with businesses who are interested to do marketing plus some sales use cases. And slowly but steadily, the whole thing transitioned into more like a broad-based CRM platform, mostly driven by what we saw in our, journey with the customers. So that's how it started, and then it kind of transitioned. And after that, the customers took the whole thing to a different level altogether. So that's how it kind of transpired.
What have been the inflection points in this journey?
I mean, usually, let me just think back, right? So, getting the first few customers always is important. And I think I still remember the first 100 user deal we had in early of 2014. Was a multi-location education company out of Mumbai. And, that was the, let's just say the first large deal we had then, right? And I would call that as a starting point for us. We were selling into other businesses before that, but not as scaled for us at that time. And then as we progressed in 14, we signed up other education companies along the way in 14. And sometime during last quarter of 14, we had signed up Byjus as a customer, and their growth was phenomenal. From 14 till 2021, 2022, and along with them, many other Edtech companies also were growing. At that time, Vedantu was one, and several others. And because we signed Byjus, it was an easier story for us to tell other Edtech companies. And and we signed up customers as a result of that, and that I would call as a important inflection point, because the whole Edtech industry, which was attracting a lot of capital, saw LeadSquared as one of the solution which can help them grow and scale, and that would be a second or other important inflection point, which took our growth from 14 till roughly 2020, 2021. I think that would be the second, I would say. The third is, as Edtech went into, its own troubles, during the last few years, we were already venturing out into, non-Edtech, more traditional businesses, financial services and other areas. And slowly but steadily, we built our business in that to counter, what we are seeing as a downtrend in Edtech. So that was, I would not call it an inflection point, but more like a journey from, changing the revenue mix. And fourth is our getting into the US market, in early 2020. I think that sort of again shifted the revenue mix for us, and was able to help us, tide over the Edtech, downtrend. So these 3-4 points I would call from a business standpoint, and also, product companies are created out of things they do for their customers, right? Along the way, we had several things we built, which, helped us scale some of our business, in some areas of our business. And so those also contributed to the, success which we saw. So, so that I think these 3-4 ideas I would say are what can be attributed to, to sort of inflection point in the journey.
And do you remember when the company crossed 1 million ARR and 10 million ARR?
I certainly remember we crossing 1 million probably in 15, if not 16, one of those. And I think 10 happened, it took us, I think, 5 years before the 10 happened, I think 4 to 5 years.
Got it. I believe, the last reported public number was in 2022, that when you were at 30 million ARR, you raised a massive 150 million round from Westbridge. And before that, you had only raised very little capital, let's say from Gaja and some angels. How has been the capital raising journey been of the company?
So interesting question. We raised a little capital along the way, starting 2013, from friends and family and such. And we also contributed some part of the capital as founders along the way. So our initial raise, which was smaller rounds across multiple years. In each round, somebody was sort of leading of sort. I think the whole angel concept was not that deep 15, 10, 12 years ago as it is now. And so whoever was willing to invest in our circle, we would call them technically angel, and then they invested. And I think that allowed us to continue to grow till, let's just say 2016, 17. Then Jyoti Bansal of AppDynamics, we got him in 17. So that
he's a college senior, right?
He's batchmate of my other co-founder,
Okay.
Prashant Singh. So that's how we connected with him, and so that allowed us to sort of take to the next level. And he's a phenomenal entrepreneur, as we all know. And then the Series A happened in 19. I think, yes, 19.
That was Gaja Capital.
That was Stakeboat.
Okay. And when did Gaja happen?
Gaja happened in December 2020. So that's when the Gaja round happened.
Okay. And how large were these rounds? Like Stakeboat?
So the
Gaja?
Stakeboat was about 3 million-ish, and then Gaja was about 30 million a little bit over 30 million.
Got it. And these are unusual choices because they are like almost like PE funds.
Yeah, so as you said, right, in the CRM is not a very very desired investment category, and there's so many companies which come in CRM space even today, and it is very hard for anybody to believe that any company can scale in CRM space or in generally customer relationship space. And so the private equity guys, I think, were interested because our capital efficiency was reasonably good, and the business was growing, and majority of our revenue still then was coming from India. And because the business was growing, it was not losing a lot of capital, was reasonably efficient, and there was a belief that India the company can scale in India to, again, I would not speak on behalf of the investors, but I would believe that they would be willing to believe that, the first fund would have believed that this company can do 10 million, the second would have believed this can do like 50 million, and so on and so forth. And I think that's why, the choice, these guys were able to make that investment choice. And also, there was a belief which is basically that this product can go outside of India as well. And I think that allowed people to, take the bet, I would think.
And I think that when you were at 3 million, a stake board came in.
Roughly. Well, less than 3. Yeah, roughly 3.
And when you were at 10, then Gaja came in.
Yeah, roughly 10, less than 10, yeah.
So in between, you manage mostly with your own cash flows that the company generated and some angel money.
Yes. By and large, that's right.
And this is very unlike like the other SaaS companies that have been built from India. I believe one reason is, as you said, like CRM is a very difficult category.
Actually, it is not a very difficult category. It is, a lot of people get into it, so it's very competitive.
Yeah.
So that makes it, you're right, that makes it difficult. So you have to find a space to, maybe play. But the also good part is that it's a large category.
A sticky category as well.
It's a large also, right? The TAM is
infinite.
Is not infinite, but it's fairly large.
Salesforce is a $250 billion company today.
Yes.
$20-30 billion in revenues.
More than 30 billion, yeah. So that's a large category. So that's why. So it attracts entrepreneurs. But can you find an area where you can scale? And I think with time, people should be able to find out where they can stand out and offer more value than others. But yes, it is not super easy category. That I would say.
And how big is the team today?
We're about 1,000-ish people now.
How many in India? How many outside India?
I think majority are in India.
Okay.
I think we have a small team in US, which is building our business there, and maybe 14-15 people in US.
And during the building of this company, you have dispelled a myth that SaaS companies built out of India can't have Indian customers.
Yeah, but I think there were other companies who have done that before us. There are many, I would say. But certainly we would be one of those companies. And yeah, I mean, I continue to believe that Indian customers will pay for, quality software, and they continue to do so increasingly now.
Yeah.
So that is true, and this is just going to grow.
Sure. And during the journey, these customers, were they paying you for the value they were receiving from the software, or do you think like the market says that Indian customers usually underprice the software?
No, I think like any other, like if there is competition, the prices go down, and then the value also plays a role in it. So I think it's a combination. I think it's a combination. There is Indian customers are not super easy to please for sure, but they're also tolerant. I mean, I think it's not entirely true that they're just one way to look about the customers. I think they're willing to partner with you to build use cases and things like that. So I believe it's a great customer base we have in India. I love them, and so yeah. I mean, I think it's just a way to look at it.
And when this Edtech obviously became a tailwind for the company and later headwind for the company, right? I assume at one point in time, Edtech would have commanded 40% revenue of the company at its peak.
Actually, more than that.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was that certainly was. I mean, in hindsight, it is 2020, right? But anything which grows super fast will come down someday, as they say, right? And so that came true for us also. But we were trying to spread our bets in other areas, and fortunately that paid off for us, and we were able to navigate out of the situation without much crisis, I would say. And so because our US business ticked up, our non-education revenue grew well, and so because our software was even though we've been sort of known more for EdTech, but our EdTech revenue is much lower than what was 3-4 years ago, and so it's more broad-based offering, and so yeah, I think it was a good good that we came out of that.
And how have you said that CRM is a category where you have large market but immense competition? How did you build your own differentiation in that category?
So I think honestly, some things I can say we planned and some just happened, right? But a lot of that happened with us because if you grow fast, right? Because on back of some customers, your user base also increases.
Yeah.
And that helps you, get some tailwind in terms of, people getting to know your software. They know how to use it and things like that, and then they'll want more of that, right? So that helped. The second is that if you focus in one area more, you're able to, let's just say, solve for those problems slightly better than others, right? In some cases slightly, in some cases much more. And that also gives you the advantage, and some of that goes back into the software, and then you sort of build those functionality and features to help the customers and bring that value for them. And because you're a smaller company, you're able to do it likely better than the others, and that helps you. So as long as you're able to find more and more such customers for the use cases which you're solving, it's likely that it'll work out. But there is no guarantee. But it's likely that it'll work out. And if the size of the customers, if your sort of average revenue sort of keeps growing in the base, then that worked out for us, to be honest. But it could have been a different story. You never know.
And if I can ask, how did customer perceive the differentiation? Like, how were they comparing you to other softwares in CRM, and what stood out for you?
See, I think one was that in the beginning, the EdTech did stood out, right? Because some of our reps will go to the customer and they say, well, because everybody in EdTech is using LeadSquared, so you don't even have to take a demo, basically, right? And so that was helpful. People would just buy LeadSquared. So that was one. And I would say the second was the number of people who were using LeadSquared got accustomed to how the software is helping them. And while everything looks outside very CRM like, right, when you go in the software, the way we've designed some functionality in our product which is relevant for high velocity sales, especially when you're selling to consumers. So when you're used to that process, it'll be difficult for you to then go back to a B2B type of system and try to do the same thing there, because you lose efficiency in that. And I think anybody, I won't say everybody, but a lot of people who've tried to switch out of LeadSquared and gone to other B2B players have seen some of that efficiency drop for them.
Have they come back?
Some have. Some people have gone to Salesforce and have come back, and that happens. That happens. I won't say a lot, but it happens.
And in the journey of LeadSquared, what has been the highest annual contract value that a customer has paid?
I would say less than 10 million would be more accurate. Yeah.
A single customer paying a 10 million?
Yeah. Not 10, but less than 10.
Less than 10.
I would not go into specifics, but
Sure.
yeah.
That would have been both, an excitement as well as fear.
Yeah, it became fear, later.
I think that was Byjus.
Yeah, that was Byjus, yeah.
Yeah. And without Byjus, what were the next set of top customers who were paying?
I think we have many customers in a million plus category.
Okay. So you were selling to the top end of the enterprise.
So it's interesting, right? I mean, we started from the bottom, but then rose through the ranks and now serve the top end also. But the flavor of our software continues to attract young companies and mid-sized companies too, and it works equally well for them. While since we have served some of the large volume customers on the planet, right? Like you don't have companies who have 50, 60, 70, 80 million leads and tens of thousands of reps selling to them. And so in that sense, it's a very scaled system, right? But at the same time, you have scale, so you operate and you serve those sizable customers. But at the same time, the software, was created, was adopted by a lot of, young companies and mid-sized companies, and they continue to benefit, and we continue to serve them. While our aspirations are, of course, to increase our ACVs and things like that, and because larger deals take time. Some customers grow into large deals, start small. So there's a variety which comes along, but we've come a long way, and I'm happy to share that. There are a few companies who can support the scale which is now demanded, at least in the country like India, where you have to operate at scale if you are a consumer tech company or consumer oriented company, and those are the companies we serve.
It is said that when people put that in India, you can't sell enterprise software. Salesforce commands $100 million a year from Bajaj FinServ. Is that true?
I don't know if it is 100 million.
But might be somewhere on the 50 million side of a range?
Possibly, maybe less, but I don't think it is 100 million. But it could be. Look, I don't know the details. Yeah, I mean, I think, they've been a great partner to them. So, they would have continued to make the investment there.
But do you think that Indian enterprises like HDFC, ICICI Bank, especially...
They spend a lot of money.
They spend a lot of money on CRM?
They spend a lot of money on tech.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, CRM also, they spend a lot of money. I mean, CRM is a broad category, which we should not just sort of bucket it into, what a Salesforce does or a LeadSquared does or a Microsoft does, right? Anything which connects to a consumer, it could be messaging, it could be communication, telephony, a lot of things sort of comes into that, space. And towards that, I think a lot of spend happens from all of these companies. So, and it is increasing. So it's not that it is stagnant, it is increasing year on year.
And if we take CRM as a category, how much does India as a country would spend on CRM? Any numbers on that? I mean,
I think it'll be anywhere from 500 million to $1 billion.
Wow. Like India's, I was head of Amazon Web Services SaaS ecosystem in India before starting
so you would
the
know.
fund. So I don't know the CRM category, but I know cloud spend. So
That's huge.
AWS revenue is $2 billion in India. Microsoft Azure is $1 billion, and I think GCP is somewhere close to $1 billion. So total overall India spends roughly, including the small players, $5 billion a year on cloud.
Which is phenomenal, right? So like, if you really compare that to, I mean, CRM, there are so many players. There's Zoho and Fresh and like so many others, right? So I would think an Oracle, like you don't see Oracle everywhere, right? But they'll be selling in many enterprise customers and things like SAP. So the spend would be is not less. It's a lot.
But ultimately, it proves that India is a market for enterprise software.
I think it is already there. Like at what size and scale would be, of course, depending on the interest of the party who wants to build a business here. But there is revenue to be made in India.
And what's the current composition by sector?
So I think our financial services will be close to 30%, a little bit less than 30%. Education would be another 30%, including US, because we sell in US education. Then I think healthcare would be about 10 to 15%, and then remaining would be more large companies, enterprises, which is growing now. By the way, that segment of our business is actually really taking off now, where people are like in automotive, in manufacturing, in building materials, right? I think people are liking our product in field sales and stuff like that, and I think that I believe is going to take off really well for us now.
And you still have today customers paying in BFSI or in automotive?
Yes.
Large $1 million ACV contracts?
Yes, we do.
So how, as an Indian company, I think one of the biases that Indian founders that I have observed as a first founder myself and then as an investor, we are shy of asking the right price. How did you overcome it?
So it was a learning exercise, right? I mean, I think there was, I'll share a story. So when we sell our software, we will, also, in cases where we do the implementation, which is majority right now, and we are changing that. But so then there is an implementation fee also. I will ask the customer, right? And one of the ways to find out what is that the customer is willing to spend is to probably quote something which is higher than what they're willing to spend. So if you do that, then the customer themselves will come and say, "This is my budget." So now they what their budget is, and then you can work around that if you can, if it works for you. But I think to your question on do we price less, I think generally I have seen that tendency to price lower and get into the deal. But over time, as the business grows, right, the flexibility for you to price anything doesn't exist. That is only true for two kinds of companies. One who's desperate to get the deal, and young companies who are just starting about or absolutely want to have a deal so that they can build, right? And I think there you end up you lose or you see a price competition. But other than that, I think as the market matures, I think most companies would price right, and so you can do that as well.
You started your US journey quite late. What were the challenges? Especially
we tried a little in between, to be candid, but I think the capital required to do anything meaningful in US was never available, right? We formally raised the first round in 19, right? While we raised little capital amounting to maybe roughly 2.5-3 million before that, but that was not enough for us to have any meaningful US presence. And that so in between, what we tried was mostly do some little campaigns, online campaigns, and some people working in the night shift to do some calls and take demos and things like that. But nothing major happened. As we took the first round, we started putting more capital, started going to some events, hosting some events, shows and things like that. And that sort of started trickling, new customers for us. So I think that was the key reason, if you ask me. for us to not sort of venture. And then the other thing was, that while we are seeing customers coming in India also getting attracted to what we are offering to them, that also was sort of kept the momentum going, right? Our growth rates were, north of 80% every year then, 80 to 90%. And so that was enough. We could have been more greedy, but that was sort of because we're growing and scaling with right capital efficiency. So, one thought was why to sort of, spend more money and not figure out, whether it'll land or not, right? So I think that maybe occupied us to not do anything else, but just to do India.
And right now, what's the composition as of today, India versus outside India revenue?
So outside India is close to 25%, and India is about 75%.
And I think majority of that, as you said earlier, is 20% is overall revenue is US revenue.
Yeah, more than 20% is, maybe 21, 22%.
And what are the things that worked for you in the US?
I think focus helped us. We picked one or two segments and
like BFSI or Edtech.
So we are in education, we are doing right now, and in healthcare. Even though our software has a broad-based appeal, it can work for other industries also. But we started with one. We built some scale there, and then looked at the other, and starting to scale that also. And so I think the approach is to sort of go vertical by vertical and build the right use cases in those verticals and basically serve them. And I think that is what we're trying to do. And it's a different, I would not say different approach. It's the approach we think is going to work for us versus kind of going broad horizontal.
And right now your focus is that you spend 6 months of your time in India and 6 months in the US.
Yeah, I'm spending some time in India and rest in US.
Yeah. But it's usually what I've observed is if your US revenue has to grow at a scale, one of the founders traditionally has always moved out from India.
I think that template has worked by and large, and I think for us, we've also built a team in US and found right capable leaders. Some of our team members from India have also moved. So that gives me that cushion to, sort of work at both places. But you're right. I mean, that in early stages, there is no other choice but to do that.
And which regions in US are your primary customer base in?
They're actually across. But I think, large states like California, Texas, and, Florida and places there we have, but they're sort of, across. It's not like, because we're not like serving any Bay Area companies kind of thing. It's like education, healthcare is all around the US. So there is no particular, one area where everybody exists.
So your customers, I assume, are colleges?
So they are like, schools, trade schools, and some online schools, and vocational schools and things like that.
And if you have to reflect back and say, if I could go back in time and change some things, what would those things be?
A great question. First, I won't do the other countries. I will just do India and US.
Okay. You still do India?
Yeah, I mean, I think because the US came after India, so it's very hard to change that order. And I'll also reason for that, because India gave us the opportunity to learn the use cases which we can serve, helped us figure out a category which is hold this high velocity sales, B2C sales category, because this is a unique market. It offers that ability, and it allowed the product to scale and make it more mature and all of that. So I think if I remove that step, then it'll be very different, because it'll be very differently built business if I just focus on US. So I think this, would, I think what I could have changed is, if I would have figured out how to tell a better story earlier, right? Maybe I would have raised capital a little bit earlier and gone to the US a little bit earlier. So I think that would be the
But
other.
if you have to rate yourself on a storyteller basis, 0 to 10, where would you rate yourself?
I think I'm less than 5.
Okay, but
Yeah.
why is that? You have raised so much capital.
Yeah, so I think a lot of things came together.
Yeah.
But I think the storytelling also requires, some prep work, I
Yeah.
would say, right? And so I think I've learned over the years.
Okay.
I was not, I couldn't tell a good story then, many years, like 5-10 years ago. But I think I've improved over time.
Okay.
So I was, maybe 2 or 3, and then sort of taking steps to become better.
Yeah.
So maybe 5, 6, is where I would be right now, because there are so many great storytellers, right?
Who, in your opinion, that you know personally, are storytellers that you look up to, especially in business world or startup world?
I would have to think on that, because I'll tell one person. You would not have heard his name. Maybe you would have. There's a product called Talisma CRM. The founder of Talisma was Mr. Pradeep Singh. He's also an investor in LeadSquared, by the way. And so whenever I spoken to him, right, the way he's able to narrate the same thing I'm saying in such a refreshing way, and give the whole thing a new look, has always amazed me.
And did any point of time you thought of, before you started raising from institutional investor, you thought of exiting the company, or you had acquisition offers also in between?
I never had a formal offer. There was one offer which we had post Series A. I was told by one of our investors then, but then I did not double clicked on that offer, so I would not know if that was for real or not. And so, because I felt that we have room and headroom to grow, so if we can grow the business, then we should continue to own and grow the business.
But not even during tough times, you thought of exiting the business?
Yeah, I mean, see, those thoughts come, right? Like some days you are not super happy of some reason, and you feel that it's better to not do this, and like that's very human. It happens to all of us. But yeah, I mean, I think we like what we do. I like what is happening, right? What we do here in the company, where we are headed. So I think the future is, there's more growth for us. The economy is growing. Our product is doing well, and so I think with that, it makes more sense to continue to invest and grow in the business.
We are sitting in a new world where everything is getting reshaped by AI. What do you think, the point where you're sitting at? How are you taking your journey with the new world?
So in the first, when the whole ChatGPT thing came out early, right, in 2022, I wanted to wait for some time before we see how it is going to pan out, and how the customers are going to adopt. What is their take on it? I think we've gotten good clarity on in areas where people would be willing to invest, and the cost of doing so, etc. So I think we've figured a few areas in where we operate with our customers, where this will be utility and important for the customer, and so we started investing in those areas. And again, fundamentally, things will be measured by the same metric what customers were measuring you earlier, right? I mean, people want efficiency to go up, cost to come down, right? Productivity to increase. So I think the same metric will be used, and the customer experience to be better. So if you have tools and systems you can offer to your customers, as a result of that, using that, they can offer better experience to their end consumers, and reduce the cost or increase the efficiency. I think those metric is what the AI systems will also have to follow. And so if your tech which you're building in AI meet some of those criterias, people would buy.
And do you think, like Satya Nadella commented few months ago that SAAS is dead? So what does he mean by that, and what's your
I don't know.
interpretation of
Maybe
that?
I don't know. I mean, there was a lot of interpretation people made out of that. I think maybe he was more referring to his own stack, is what I understood. But I don't know if his SaaS is dead. Like, it doesn't look like it is dead right now. Like, maybe there's a time period when it is going to be dead. Like, for example, if you go back, you know, even the classic self-hosted, enterprise applications, they are not dead.
Yeah.
I think there are still systems running on COBOL. So, like, what is the meaning of dead? Is of course the growth. Maybe he's saying growth will come down and things like that. And I think, but yeah, I'm not subscribing to that worldview yet.
But do you think the per seat based model pricing is changing?
That will be challenged.
But you are still on per seat based pricing.
We have per seat and variable pricing
Sure.
to both. Yeah, we've already. I mean, before last few years only, we have already had some part of a product in variable pricing, and I think as and when customers get more comfortable, the variable pricing would also be there. Look, I mean, in larger deals and larger customers, right? People want fixed budget also, right? They say, this is what I budgeted for that. So, like, there, the variable pricing generally is not super exciting for those customers. I think where we found models where the variable pricing would be attractive is when the variation is linked to the outcome to the business. For example, in lending, we have a loan origination system we offer. So if there is a connection of that to number of cases you are processing, right? Then the customer can see, okay, now I can see that it moves that it is attached to a metric, and I'm willing to sort of pay for that. I think there, as you become closer to the business metric, people will be more comfortable in the variable pricing.
Charging based some
transaction which is connected to their business outcome,
or the revenue.
It may not be exactly outcome, ideally outcome, but if not outcome, at least somewhere close to the outcome.
So would you term this all the hype in the AI world that SaaS is dead, everything is moving to AI as a FUD? Like,
no. I mean, see, AI is real, right? So there's nothing, there's no fad there, right? It is real. The application of it has to be where's the innovation and thinking and where the companies will get built, right? So I think you have to adopt AI and make it useful for the customer.
And we discussed offline, right? That before the conversation started, that the initially Indian founders were building tech teams in India and then selling in the US. Now you are saying that Indian founders are hiring everywhere.
Yeah, look, I mean, Indian founders are hiring in India for sure. Like, I have met people who have hired, who are in India hiring outside India because certain type of talent is not available in India, right? So that is happening. I know founders who are Indian founders who are working with companies or have offices in Eastern Europe and places, right? So I think that variability will continue. But also the fact that India offers the vast majority of developers in the ecosystem continues to be the truth. So that will attract many companies to come here. But at the same time, the price question will also play a role, right? Like, if the price of talent in India, if that increases beyond a point, then it's not there, by the way, yet. But then the competitiveness would suffer as a result of that.
Yeah. One question which I want to ask you is, did you interact with Mr. Byju Raveendran one-on-one basis a few times?
Yeah, I have met him a few times.
What's your perception of him as a leader, as a person?
Look, I've not. My interactions have not been very deep. It's maybe a few minutes conversation. I mean, I met him early in 2017 time,
and when he was not the Byjus, right?
Yeah, he was a very confident person, and he knew what he was talking, and yeah, I mean, I had a positive experience.
But could you see the spark in him that he could make a company worth 22 billion back in the day?
I would
2017?
not like it. That was hard for me to say. Honestly, I would not be able to say that then. But then happened. But it was. I mean, one thing was possible, was visible, that they're definitely smart people. They're good people on their side, and who are driving the business, and they were doing the right things to grow the business, at least then, or at least what we understood, or I understood of that route. I mean, there are many things which happen in a business which you are very unlikely to kind of learn and figure
Nobody
out.
could have predicted the edtech market would go so fast and would come down even faster.
See, I mean, in history, I mean, every time things go up fast and come down fast,
.com
right?
and
But
so many examples.
people find ways to avoid that also, right? Like it's unfortunate that didn't happen in this company, but many companies went up and have declined, but some continue to find growth again also. That also happens.
Yeah. And my last question is, right, besides the process of growing the company, what do you enjoy most as an entrepreneur?
Learning. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy learning. Yeah, that's the most interesting thing.
And still there are things on a daily basis that you think you have not figured out?
Yeah, there are many things. In fact, you know so little, actually.
What are some of the things that are on your table that come in that bucket?
No, there are many things, right? Like, building a great team is still a question, I continue to, find, right? Some people are amazing at finding, potential in other people. I'm still learning how to, so there is one is that, get somebody and, okay, this person is capable of doing this. But then, it's very hard for me to figure out what shape somebody can take into, right? Like how a VC thinks, right? Like this company can become that someday, right? I'm yet to figure some of those things out when dealing with people and things like that. So that area is learning. And yeah, I mean, I think the tech trends and things like that, right? Like, so fast things have changed and continue to change. I mean, I don't think I would have figured out, myself like most people. So you continue to learn and figure out what could be next. All right. So I think that's an area of active learning. So many areas to learn.
Got it.
That's a very little we know.
Thank you so much, Nilesh, for being so candid, and it was a great conversation.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for inviting me again. Thank you so much, and and kudos to you, and best luck to your fund.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good day.